What's up, guys? Welcome to Mass Effect Talks. This episode is going to be about the Drell. This is episode 24. Yeah, let's jump right to it. I actually find the Drell pretty interesting. I didn't really like the Drell at first. Well, not that I didn't like them, but I didn't really care for them. I was just like, okay, they're cool. I wasn't a big fan of Thane, but Thane has grown on me. I love the sound of his voice, the sound that the Drell voice, the way that it kind of rumbles, kind of like has a timbre to it. I'm not sure how to explain it, but you know what I mean. The Drell are pretty interesting. I actually used to think that they were more like your toad. You know, the toads they're creatures that are around water more than dry areas. So that's what type of reptile I thought the Drell was. I thought they were like aquatic type of reptiles. But when Thane starts talking about his planet and all that on Mass Effect 2, you're like, oh, so they're more like your lizard. They come from a dry environment, like a desert. So their home world is called Rakhana. It's a dry and barren planet covered in rocky deserts. Pretty much what happened on Rakhana was, since the planet was a very dry planet, the growth of the Drell species actually started to deplete resources on Rakhana. Their population was bursting at 11 billion. That the race pretty much faced certain doom on Rakhana because they were running out of resources because of the expansion of the race, and they didn't think that it was going to come to this, because if they did, they would have been a little more careful. The reason why they eventually got to this point was because at this time the Drell were not a spacefaring species. So it's not like, oh well, we'll just go inhabit another planet. No, they couldn't, because they weren't a spacefaring species. So what happened was the Hanar. Now a lot of Drell were dying on Rakhana because of the depletion of resources, and the Hanar were the ones that came to Rakhana and actually did like this exodus for the Drell. They started to take them off the planet so that they could save the species. So in about 10 years, the Hanar had transported hundreds of thousands of Drell from Rakhana to the Hanar homeworld, which is Kahje. But the planets are so different. I mean, Rakhana is completely dry, and Kahje is like an ocean planet. There's oceans everywhere, and it's a very humid environment. So the Drell really felt the difference of the planet, and their biology isn't made for that type of environment, for a humid environment. It's made more for an arid environment. So that's where the disease comes from, the Kepral Syndrome. It started because the Drell species isn't supposed to be in a humid environment. If they're exposed to that type of environment for a long time, their lungs start to it starts to be really hard for them to breathe the air, and so they develop this disease. A lot of Drell, while they were on Kahje, they actually had to live in like these domed areas where it kind of maintained their the temperature and the type of environment that was typical for Rakhana, so an arid environment. But not all Drell actually stayed or lived in these domes, so that's where a lot of Drell come down with this disease. The Hanar weren't able to save all the Drell. A lot of Drell were left behind on Rakhana, and they did end up dying. But the Drell that they were able to save, they were actually able to save approximately 375,000 Drell. The Drell, in order to repay their debt to the Hanar, they came up with an agreement that's called the Pact. And what this is that the Drell would assist the Hanar in any tasks that the Hanar can't do well or can't accomplish. Like, for example, combat. The Hanar have a lot of trouble in combat. I mean, you could kind of tell why. I mean, they're these jellyfish with tentacles, and it's kind of hard for them to survive in a physical combat. And today, high-ranking Hanar are often inseparable from their Drell assistants. So they pretty much mutually help each other with whatever way that they can. Whatever the Hanar can't do, the Drell will do. And that's their repayment for saving them from Rakhana. Let me talk a little bit about the Drell biology. The Drell are omnivores. And the omnivore is that, kind of like humans, we eat plants and meat. They can live up to about 85 years. Their muscle tissue is slightly denser than, say, humans or Asari. So it gives them this wiry type of strength. They have a lot of reptilian type of features that are concealed, but one of them that could be seen is the difference in the neck, which is around the hyoid bone. The hyoid bone is in here. It's what supports. It's the bone. It's a U-shaped bone that supports the tongue. So it's this bone in there. It's not the jaw, but it's inside here. It surrounds, for the Drell, it's surrounded by that tissue right here that you see, like in Thane. It's like this thing like that, and then it's like this different type of tissue here. It looks very reptilian. What that does is it actually expands. It could expand, kind of like, I guess you could imagine like a frog or like a toad when they go. They could expand that. It allows them to create vocal sounds that are outside of the human range. They also have two sets of eyelids, as we could see with Thane. One of them closes down and the other one closes to the side, I believe. This is pretty much like a crocodile. So there is no cure for Kepral Syndrome, but a lot of Hanar scientists, they are working on trying to create a genetic adaptation. So eventually the Drell, I mean, it takes years and years and decades and even sometimes millennia for a species to evolve. So eventually the Drell will evolve if they're not completely wiped out. But they will evolve to be able to withstand the environment on Kahje. But in the meantime, Kepral Syndrome does kill a lot of Drell. So the Hanar are trying to find a way to like genetically adapt that so that the Drell could survive on Kahje and not go through that syndrome. Kepral Syndrome is not it's not contagious, like Thane says in Mass Effect 2. A really interesting thing about the Drell is their memory. Now they have, like, you know how we say photographic memory. They have their memories are like to the next level when it comes to that. It's more like, it's almost like they relive past situations. We see this with Thane in Mass Effect 2, where all of a sudden his eyes go really big, and they even look weird, they look dilated or something like that, and he starts to relive the memory. The memories are so strong that an external stimulus can trigger a powerful memory recall. These recalls are so vivid and detailed that some Drell may mistake it for reality. And Thane has this when it comes to all of his assassinations. He relives pretty much all of them. A lot of times they're involuntary. They all of a sudden just come and then they go. A little bit of Drell history. The Drell and the Hanar have coexisted for about 2 centuries, so quite a long time. And they have a very, very close relationship. Like Thane talks about Thane talks about the Hanar soul name, and how they don't say that to anybody, and that it's like beautiful to be able to know a Hanar's soul name. Most Drell are content to live on Kahje because they've formed such a good relationship with the Hanar, although there are some Hanar and some outsiders that actually consider the Drell on Kahje as second-class citizens. But that's not the case, because the Drell have actually integrated themselves so well into the Hanar society that they work very well together, and in no way are they a second-class citizen to most Hanar. A lot of Drell do leave Kahje, but those that leave Kahje are more of the adventurous type of personality. because they go off and to look for a new home basically, but they do adapt pretty well, more emotionally and psychologically than they do biologically, just because of their biological setbacks. Drell have adapted to communication with Hanar by getting implants in their eyes to allow them to observe the bioluminescence the Hanar use for communication. Drell, such as Thane, are able to see ultraviolet light as a silvery color, but in this case they actually do lose the differentiation between colors of the opposite color scheme. So, for example, it's hard for them to tell the difference between a dark red and a black. The Drell religion, the Drell are very religious, as you could see with Thane. They believe that they have souls separate from their body. They see death as a departure from the body, and they also state that a person's body and soul form a whole. When the soul is traumatized or sick or something like that, or hurt, they don't consider that body to be whole at that moment. They're not working at their fullest potential. They also believe that their body can be directed as a separate entity. So for example, Thane taking no responsibility for his numerous killings which were ordered by the Hanar. Their religion is polytheistic, so that means that they believe in multiple gods. They have a god for varying situations. So depending on the situation that they're living, that's the god that they're going to pray to. The three gods that we at least know about for the Drell are Amankira, Lord of Hunters, Arashu, goddess of motherhood and protection, and Kalahira, goddess of oceans and afterlife. And we hear Thane pray to Kalahira when he takes a life. Not all Drell believe in these ways. A lot of younger Drell have adapted to different types of beliefs. Like some of them have embraced the Hanar enkindlers, and others also have embraced the Asari philosophies. Here's just a few interesting facts about the Drell. The creation of the Drell actually came from Thane. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't like BioWare created the Drell and then created Thane. BioWare wanted a male alien romance, so they created Thane, and that's where they came up with the idea of the Drell, or the appearance of the Drell. If you romance Thane and you go to Morden for advice, Morden says that human and Drell skin contact can cause a rash, and if ingested, if you even taste the skin of a Drell, you could pretty much get poisoned. It could cause hallucinations, and it's kind of similar to the venom of a toad, which is sometimes used as a psychotropic drug. According to Patrick Weeks is a writer on Mass Effect, he says that Kepral Syndrome is based off of the real-life disease cystic fibrosis. And I didn't realize this, but the Drell is actually the only race in Mass Effect without a codex entry. The game did incorporate a codex entry for the Drell, but then they removed it at the end, so they didn't. So the game doesn't have a codex entry for the Drell. One last thing is, if you are in a relationship with Thane calls you Siha, and Siha is one of the warrior angels of the goddess Arashu. She's fierce in wrath and a tenacious protector. So I really liked that idea. I've never romanced Thane, but when I started to hear more about him, he just sounds very. He seems like one of the most emotional, and I think it's because of the way that the Drell are. They relive memories so deeply. They're very religious, and they really know how to appreciate. Like for example, how they dedicate themselves to the Hanar, especially because they saved them from their planet. So they're a very dedicated race and appreciative. So as a romance, I have seen the romance between Thane and Shepard on YouTube, and it just seems so different. It just seems kind of, I mean, Thane starts crying, and it's just very emotional, especially with the whole idea that Thane's gonna die. It's gotta be very interesting. I really want to create a playthrough where I romance Thane, because it's gotta be something very, very interesting for Mass Effect 3. BioWare has said that they are going to resolve the Thane dilemma when it comes to his his disease and what's going to happen to him. So he is going to be alive by Mass Effect 3. That's a good thing, because I was like, I don't think they would just kill him off before Mass Effect 3, because that would really make a lot of people angry, especially people that had romanced him. Either way, though, if they make Thane die, it's going to be I think it's going to be such a sad moment. Just because, especially if you romanced him. I've also thought that if Thane does end up dying, maybe his son is going to join your squad, like in honor of his father or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Thane, and some people have actually, there's rumors out there that the Hanar are going to come up with a cure for Thane. It seems like Thane doesn't really want it in Mass Effect 2, but I think he's going to take it because of Shepard. Because if you romance Thane at the end, at the last scene of the romance, you could see that Thane really does want to live. Like he doesn't want to die, especially with what he's feeling for Shepard. He writes Shepard a letter, and it's just so, I was like, wow, that's kind of, it's very emotionally, it's very strong. It's a very strong relationship. It really tugs at your heartstrings more than any other relationship, in my opinion. So I have to try that. I have to make a playthrough with where I romance Thane. I think it's going to be very sad for Mass Effect 3, but I also think it's going to be pretty rewarding at the same time. So that's pretty much it. There wasn't a lot of information on the Drell, which I could kind of see why. They're a very new race, at least for us, not so much for the Mass Effect universe. I don't think they've been developed 100% yet as a race, so I do find them interesting. They have grown a lot on me, the Drell, and Thane in particular. I know a lot of people don't really like Thane, which I could kind of understand why. At the same time, I'm just like, why? I don't know exactly why, but I didn't really like Thane in the beginning either, but he's grown on me. The more you see regarding his relationship with Shepard, and the more you expose yourself to Thane, you just kind of grow to appreciate him, to like him. At least in my case. I know that in Mass Effect 3, you get to go to Kahje, I believe, and it has to do with something about the Hanar scientists that are trying to come up with a cure for the Kepral Syndrome. I'm not exactly, I can't remember exactly what the mission is, but it has to do with that, and that's when you meet Thane again. He's not going to be on your squad in the beginning, I believe. You meet him on the Kahje, on Kahje. So that's it for the major races. The Drell was the last. Next week I'm going to be talking about the minor races, and I might actually group races together, depending on how much information I find. But next week I really want to talk about the Hanar, since I talked about the Drell this week, just so that it could tie a little bit to it. And another race, I'll find what other race might fit well with the Hanar. And if I do find a lot of information on Hanar, I'll just do it on the Hanar. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.